Okay, let's unpack this. When we talk about horror that really gets under your skin, goes beyond jump scares, delves into something truly unsettling,
Yeah.
you really can't avoid H.P. Lovecraft. His completely out of left field strangeness, that instantly recognizable style,
Yeah.
it's laid the groundwork for so much modern horror.
Oh, absolutely. He really did tap into a unique vein of fear, that feeling of, well, insignificance,
Yeah.
facing something vast and just unknowable.
Mm.
It's a primal dread, still resonates today.
And it was that feeling that led us down this fascinating rabbit hole. We found this Lovecraftian entity iceberg on the YouTube channel Maker.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. It's great.
It really is a brilliant way to visualize just how many bizarre, terrifying creatures are in Lovecraft's universe.
It really helps grasp the scope.
Mhm.
And for anyone maybe new to this, cosmic horror, which, Lovecraft basically defined it, isn't about the monster in the closet.
Right.
It's more intellectual. It's kind of dread, horror of the unknowable.
Exactly. That creeping cosmic dread, the sort of terrifying pull of forbidden knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
dangerous knowledge.
Yeah, and the very real threat of madness, those really disturbing encounters with things that are just not human.
Definitely not human. Shouldn't be.
And then you add that feeling of inescapable fate, maybe the horrors hiding in our own scientific discoveries. That's the Lovecraft recipe right there.
It really is. And because he relied so heavily on these incredibly evocative written descriptions, it's actually hard to picture these things sometimes.
Total.
He was a master of using language to just conjure that dread.
Which is why we like that the original video paired descriptions with images, videos, giving us a glimpse, as much as you can glimpse the indescribable.
Right, a visual anchor helps.
So our mission today basically is our own deep dive into some of these fascinating and, yeah, utterly terrifying entities. Consider us your slightly nervous guides.
Hopefully we can shed some light on what makes them so enduringly unsettling.
Okay, so the Maker video kind of organized these by search popularity, roughly, saving the more obscure ones for deeper down the iceberg.
Yeah, that makes sense. We're going to follow a similar path, descending into the, well, darkness. And where better to start than the undisputed heavyweight, the name everyone thinks of, Cthulhu.
Cthulhu is definitely the poster child, for sure. It's everywhere in pop culture, even if people haven't read the stories.
It's seen as this, godlike entity, right? A manifestation of destruction, chaos. And the description itself is iconic. Giant humanoid, but then cephalotic.
Like an octopus head, yeah.
And arthropodal features, like insects or crabs. It's that mix of familiar and just alien. That's what gets you, isn't it?
Precisely. It's fundamentally wrong. Violates natural forms, triggers that deep unease.
And the head.
Yeah.
This huge bulbous sac, tentacles instead of a mouth. It's such a vivid, disturbing image. But here's where it gets really wild. Cthulhu isn't stuck in one form.
Ah, the shape-shifting.
Yeah. It can change size from human size to literally continental.
Continental, wow.
Imagine that. Infinite, long, powerful limbs just waiting to, well, whatever a continent-sized tentacle thing does. Probably nothing good for us.
It certainly fuels the imagination in terrifying ways.
I know.
And it's no surprise it inspired a worldwide cult, right?
Not at all.
Powerful hidden beings, secretly worshipped. Classic Lovecraft. Plays on those fears of unseen forces.
And in the grand cosmic family tree, Cthulhu is a descendant of Yog-Sothoth. We'll get to him later, and even has its own delightful offspring.
A family reunion from hell, basically.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So, okay, moving beyond Cthulhu, we get the outer gods. Now, these sound like the real cosmic big leagues.
They are the truly cosmically significant entities. Different from the great old ones, although Lovecraft hints the distinctions might be beyond us anyway.
Right, incomprehensible hierarchy.
Exactly. It just shows the sheer scale. Maybe think of outer gods as fundamental cosmic forces, and great old ones as powerful beings within that. So even that's simplifying it.
Layers upon layers of dread, and most of these outer gods aren't even, nearby.
No, they're beyond our solar system. Outer voids outside of thought and existence, or the gravesite beyond time.
Not exactly vacation spots.
Not really. Only a few seem interested in Earth.
But even from way out there, they have these tremendous psychic abilities.
Powerful stuff. It's subtle, insidious influence. Doesn't need physical presence to cause havoc.
And their goals. Forget human concerns. We're talking agendas so vast they often involve extermination of all life.
Yeah. Pretty clear objective, even if the why is beyond us.
It certainly makes them seem malevolent.
It does.
Yeah.
But like the video mentions, maybe their motives are just on a scale so alien that good and evil don't even apply.
That is a genuinely unsettling thought, like applying morality to galaxies colliding.
Exactly. And where do they come from? Who knows? Maybe eternal? Maybe created by some ancient evil near Yog-Sothoth? It's all very vague.
Vague and deeply unsettling. Okay, let's unpack this next one. Nyarlathotep. Sounds particularly nasty, the crawling chaos.
Nyarlathotep's fascinating. Lovecraft created him, but he's really taken on a life of his own in other mythos stories.
How so?
Well, unlike the others, he's much more active. A direct presence in the human world.
Right. Not exiled or sleeping. He's a cosmic nomad, wanders the earth, often disguised as a totally normal human. Usually a tall, skinny, joyful man.
You'd never guess, right?
Never. That ability to walk among us, wear a human mask, that's insidious.
It really is. Erodes your sense of safety. How do you fight something that looks like anyone else?
But don't let the disguise fool you. He can also show up as manifestations of unimaginable, grotesque horror.
Stuff that breaks your sanity.
Yeah, and even as a human, he's fluent in tons of languages, spreading covert propaganda. Serving his master Azathoth, he's a cosmic agent provocateur.
A true agent of chaos. And he seems to enjoy it. That delight in spreading lunacy.
Yeah.
It's not just a means to an end.
There's a malicious glee there.
Definitely. Revels in the suffering.
And then there's the lovely prophecy. Nyarlathotep eventually destroys humanity and the planet.
Sweet dreams.
Right. Speaking of masters, let's talk Azathoth, another outer god. Got a real list of charming nicknames. Nuclear Chaos, the Blinded Ear God, Daman Sultan, the Deep Dark, the Cold One.
Yeah, none of those sound very cuddly. Azathoth is, well, ultimate formless chaos. At the heart of everything.
You can't really describe him.
The impossibility of a consistent description is the point, really. Emphasizes how alien it is. The source says, each being sees it differently and it's constantly changing.
Stretches your brain just thinking about it.
It does. One report calls it a gigantic sensitive black hole.
How do you even visualize that? Wow. And its reputation.
Yeah.
So just the name Azathoth in the Necronomicon, enough to make other scary entities shudder.
That tells you something, right? Its place in the cosmic horror hierarchy. Its primal cosmic dread, so fundamentally chaotic, even other horrors fear it.
And some tribes actually worship it because of the horror.
In awe of the unimaginable horrors, yeah.
Yeah.
Devotion born from pure terror.
Yeah.
Now let's shift gears slightly. Dagon. Not quite outer god scale, but still significant, disturbing.
Right. Dagon, a deity, governing agent of the Deep Ones. Also Father Dagon, consort of Mother Hydra. And the Deep Ones. This amphibious humanoid race living deep in Earth oceans. Fish people, basically. Generally unpleasant.
The Deep Ones are a classic Lovecraft motif. That disturbing idea of human hybridization, secrets in the ocean depths.
Unexplored places.
Exactly. They live incredibly long lives, can grow huge, fossils pushing 50 feet.
But Dagon itself is much, much larger.
Oh yeah, a true leviathan of the abyss. And like the others, Dagon has followers. Cults of humans and Deep Ones. Worship goes way back. Antiquity.
Makes you wonder about old sea tales, doesn't it? What sailors really saw out there. Okay, next up, Yog-Sothoth. Both a cosmic entity and an outer god. Got some grand titles. The all-in-one, the all-encompassing, the opener of the way. Sounds important.
Yog-Sothoth holds a really unique, pivotal spot in the mythos. Born from the nameless mist, it's a key progenitor. Ancestor to Cthulhu, Hastur,
Right.
and father of Wilbur Whateley from Dunwich Horror. Deeply tied into the lineage.
And visually, not humanoid at all. A mass of glowing orbs, sometimes with eyes or tendrils.
Yeah, just swirling, shimmering cosmic energy. Maybe awareness, though it can apparently take other forms.
And its key trait is omniscience. But it's trapped.
Exactly. It's forever locked outside of the universe at large, but paradoxically, that position outside gives it knowledge of everything beyond our reality.
Like having the ultimate cosmic library card, but you can't get in the building?
Kind of. You can only whisper answers through the keyhole. It's pure, inaccessible information on the edge of everything.
Interesting that the source mentions appearances in Doctor Who Marvel. Shows its influence, its adaptability.
Definitely. All right, let's move to something maybe more physical, though no less terrifying. The Shoggoth.
Ah, the Shoggoth. From At the Mountains of Madness, a sentient blob of self-shaping gelatinous flesh. That description alone.
It's visceral, right? Deeply unnatural, repulsive.
And it can morph into any shape, but its default is this. Undulating mass of eyes, mouths, pseudopodia.
Try picturing that oozing towards you.
And it's fast. Speed of speeding train, shapeless, changing horror at high speed. That's a bad combo.
And its attack method is gruesome. Surrounds victims, uses suction to literally tear them limb from limb.
That's how they beat their creators, the elder things.
Yep. Shows their raw power.
And if that wasn't enough, they have this terrible odor. Worse than their creators.
A full sensory assault. And here's the really disturbing twist. They were made as mindless slaves.
Right.
But over immense time, they evolved consciousness, developed civilizations after killing the elder things. Talk about an uprising.
Monumental. Okay, next. Hastur. The king in yellow, but also Hastur the Unspeakable.
Hastur's complex. Evolved a lot in the mythos. Lovecraft mentioned it once, almost benignly, like a loving shepherd god.
Really?
Yeah, but later authors really ran with it, made it much more malevolent. Significant.
So now it's a great old one. Spawn of Yog-Sothoth, half-brother to Cthulhu.
Generally, yeah. Some even link it to the nameless mist that birthed others. Talk about a dysfunctional family tree.
Seriously. And it has avatars, like the Feaster from Afar.
Yeah, that delightful, black, shriveled, flying thing with tentacle talons.
That pierce your skull to get your brain. Lovely.
Indeed. And then there's the king in yellow. Mysterious, malevolent, tied to the yellow sign.
That symbol itself is creepy. Pure existential dread.
Exactly. And while its true form is amorphous, it's often described vaguely octopoid, maybe a family resemblance to Cthulhu's line.
These cosmic bloodlines are tangled. Now, we've mentioned great old ones a few times. Let's zoom out. What are they, broadly speaking?
Okay, great old ones. They're fundamental forces in Lovecraft's cosmology, exist from the very fabric of the universe.
Right.
Practically indestructible.
Ancient.
Immensely ancient, grown over eons into colossal, wicked monstrosities.
And their thoughts. Totally alien. Beyond us.
Completely. Can't fathom their motives or the lack of concern for lesser beings like us. We're ants, maybe less.
And just seeing them can break your mind.
But even unseen, they exert psychic influence, shape thoughts, invade dreams, insidious control.
They're usually stuck on specific planets. Sleeping?
Typically, yeah. Bound or slumbering, scattered across the universe. Ancient horrors waiting for the stars to be right.
And inevitably, human cults worship them.
Seems to be a pattern. You'd think we'd learn.
Right. Okay, let's dive into a specific nasty example. The Dunwich Horror. That story's a cornerstone.
The Dunwich Horror is a classic, for good reason. Hits all those Lovecraft themes. Forbidden knowledge, monstrous births from unholy unions, dread in isolated rural places.
And the creature itself, Yogg-Whaley. Usually invisible, right? Need that arcane powder from the Necronomicon just to see it.
And what you see is mind-bending. Colossal beast larger than a barn. Wiggling strings tied together like a chicken egg. Dozen barrel-sized legs.
It's almost impossible to picture coherently.
That's the point. Intentionally overwhelming. Massive eyes all over, more than 10 gray mouths of trunks with blue rings. Just sensory overload.
And that half face on top, resembling its grandfather, but wrong. Utterly wrong.
Grotesque. And it wasn't solid. Jelly-like, leaving that nasty, dark, viscous goo.
Utterly repulsive. And the parents. Yog-Sothoth and Lavinia Whately, human woman who dabbled with the Necronomicon.
It never ends well with that book.
Nope. And it had a twin, Wilbur, also. Unusual. The horror was hidden, fed on cattle, smelled awful.
Kept people away. Then, after its mother and brother died, it went on a rampage, mutilated animals that grew everywhere.
Until it was banished by a spell, its last words a plea to its father.
A desperate plea to Yog-Sothoth, yeah. Foundational horror, truly.
No.
Let's move on to something from dreams. The Night Gaunts.
Night Gaunts. Denizens of the Dreamlands, another key Lovecraft realm. Bizarre winged creatures, silent primal fear.
That's a good way to put it. Long, slender humanoid body, curved horns, large, silent bat-like wings, pointy devil tail. Sounds almost traditional.
Almost. But then the face. Completely blank. Void of features.
That's profoundly unnerving.
Isn't it no connection possible, no reading intention, just silent, gliding otherness?
And they worship Nodens, who seems more neutral, maybe even benevolent in the grand scheme.
Interesting contrast. And these came from Lovecraft's own childhood nightmares.
Yes, silent, emotionless, devil-like beings that terrified him because they were blank. Chilling how personal terror became mythology.
Definitely. Okay, Hounds of Tindalos. These sound like they operate on a whole different level of reality.
Angles of time, yeah. Not the curves we inhabit. It's a mind-bending concept, challenges our linear view of time, suggests a much weirder temporal landscape.
And we don't know much about what they look like, because survivors are rare.
Pretty much. We know about a hollow proboscis for feeding that spews horrendous blue pus.
Lovely.
And they're not dogs, despite the name. Extra-dimensional predatory creatures. Materialize anywhere, anytime.
Hunters outside our dimensions, hard to escape.
Very. They're linked to sharp angles. Over 120 degrees, their arrival is preceded by thick smoke pouring from the corner.
Like geometry itself is a doorway, creepy, and they hunt time travelers, stalk them across dimensions.
Relentless hunters, yeah. Talk about a persistent threat. Next, Yig, father of serpents, deity from Central South America.
Yig's a different flavor of horror, more rooted in ancient myth, folklore, wrath of a primal god tied to nature, snakes.
Manifests as a reptile-like humanoid or just a gigantic snake with human arms. Either way, not a pleasant encounter.
No. And fiercely protective of snakes. Punishes those who harm them really cruelly. Hallucinations leading to loved ones' deaths.
Targeted vicious divine retribution. It's called a dark prototype for Quetzalcoatl and Kukulkan, hinting at a darker ancient history.
And just saying its name inspired fear.
Profound fear, yeah. Apparently, after colonizers arrived, unnatural tragedies happened, blamed on Yig's influence.
Wow. And it wasn't always malicious, only when snakes were threatened, but prone to feeding frenzies.
Needed offerings, loud drumming to appease or ward off. A temperamental snake god, basically.
Okay, finally, let's get into the elder things. From Mountains of Madness. Fascinating, almost biological detail here.
The elder things are pretty unique in the mythos that way. Lots of biological detail, yet immensely ancient, powerful. On Earth over 1 billion years. Incomprehensible time frame before us.
6 feet tall, large, oval-shaped barrels, starfish appendages top and bottom.
Yep, top one like a head. 5 eyes, 5 feeding tubes, prismatic cilia for seeing in the dark. Bottom one, 5 limbs for walking.
And 5 leathery wings for atmosphere and spaceflight?
Well equipped for interstellar travel, yeah. And unlike many mythos beings made of terrestrial matter, though their thick green blood had a vile, indescribable stench, provoked hostility.
And they could handle deep sea pressure, vacuum of space.
Remarkably resilient. Arrived over 1 billion years ago. Maybe the first aliens here. Maybe created life via arcane experimentation.
And they genetically modified the Shoggoths as slaves.
Ancient bioengineering with sinister implications, right? But over eons, their civilization degenerated, lost spaceflight.
Then other aliens arrived. Mygo, Kulu star spawn, led to wars.
Devastating wars. And ironically, their own creations, the Shoggoths, rebelled and overthrew them.
So they retreated to Antarctica. Civilization collapsed in the Ice Age.
Pretty much. But there are hints. Maybe non-degenerated survivors out among the stars. Small pockets in deep oceans. Alongside the frozen ones in Antarctica.
An epic, ultimately tragic history.
Really underscores that Lovecraft theme. Cosmic cycles, impermanence of even powerful civilizations against vast time.
So there you have it, just a glimpse into the vast, bizarre, deeply unsettling Lovecraftian mythos we've touched on today.
These entities, yeah. In their strangeness, their power, they embody that horror of the unknown, the incomprehensible. It's so different from standard ghosts and monsters. It's fear from our insignificance in a cold and different cosmos.
And Lovecraft's influence on modern horror is just undeniable. Still inspires, still terrifies, shapes our nightmares, our sense of what's truly beyond us.
Which brings us to a final thought for you, our listener. Thinking about all these horrors we've discussed, which one do you find the most profoundly unsettling? And maybe more importantly, why?
Is it the physical grotesquerie?
Or the utterly alien motives? Or maybe just that cold, uncaring vastness they represent? We definitely encourage you to dive deeper into Lovecraft's work. See what other cosmic terrors you might dig up.